Hello everyone, Matt Malatesta here. All right, Whataburger Team of the Week. Who could it be? There were so many candidates this week, but we're going with the LaPorte Bulldogs. They've gone back-to-back wins against 6A teams. They're a 5A team. This week, they beat Kingwood. Huge win. Their running back is serious. Their quarterback is serious. Aiden Sines is the quarterback, just doing work. And Sean Simon, the running back, is averaging 250 yards a game. They've won two really close games against 6A programs, which shows us that they can win when it's crunch time. All right, this week, the LaPorte Bulldogs are the Whataburger Team of the Week. Malatesta, Jackson DiPasquale. This is week 3. We're going into week 3. We're going to talk about a bunch of games that happened last week, what's going to happen this week. Our rankings kind of shuffle around a little bit. Ridgepoint remains number 1, followed by Summer Creek, followed by Bridgeland. The Bridgeland Bears, awesome. This week, the Thursday night showdown on Space City Home Network is none other than the number 1 team in Ridgepoint versus the number 3 team in Bridgeland, out at the end of the world, out in Hall Stadium in Fort Bend. That's going to be an amazing game. But a couple of really interesting developments, high-rising teams that we did with our rankings this week is one is College Park, another is Klein Collins. LaPorte has beaten 2 6A teams, and they're a 5A team. And Katy goes 0-2. Atascocita's Cardae Mack scores a touchdown every 30 seconds, it seems like. What do you think about week 2? What did we learn in week 2?
I think we learned a few. We kind of solidified a few teams. I think Atascocita has answered our questions that we might have had before the year started. They've kind of answered those questions. I'll be interested to see what they do once we get into district play. Obviously, they've got a big matchup this week and a non-district matchup against Westlake. So that'll be another test for them. But I think we learned Atascocita is legit. I think we learned Klein Collins is definitely a little better than we thought. Also, College Park is a team that I think definitely can compete in that district and be a contender for the district title. I think another team that no one's really talking about right now is Klein Bearcats. The Klein Bearcats are coming. They've put up over, I believe, 100-something points of offense the past 2 weeks. They scored 70 last week. I think they scored 50 this past week. Klein Bearcats are another team to watch out for. They're kind of a sleeper. North Shore got their first win of the season, so it's good to see them kind of get back on track. Those are kind of the headlines of week 2, though.
Yeah, they play Westfield this upcoming week, I believe North Shore does. But Klein Collins has a big offensive line, a good quarterback. They do it with defense and moving the chains. Coach Adrian Mitchell does a tremendous job over there. They beat Willis, and Willis was very highly ranked in our rankings. Now, yes, it's the Jermaine Bishop show. He does amazing, but they don't have a ton else outside of him, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a freshman quarterback that they're starting right now. They do have the 3-star Arkansas tight end commit, Javion Martin, who transferred over from Pflugerville. He's playing tight end and defensive line, I believe, for them. So, they do have 2 weapons. I think it's just a young quarterback. Offensive line is pretty experienced, though. Watching some of the tape, it looked like, that Klein Collins defense was just really, really stingy and able to just kind of shut down the Willis offense as a whole.
Really well coached over at Klein Collins. This week, Klein Kane, College Park, that's a signature win for that program, beating Klein Kane. Klein Kane is traditionally a playoff team coached by Coach Clancy, who does a great job. They handled Klein Kane, which is interesting because, we've never taken College Park super seriously, but now with the coach over there, he has a deep program with a lot of really high-level athletes, and they've always been that small school. Now they seem like they might be for real. Grand Oaks, Conroe, The district's pretty solid over
The
there.
Woodlands too. Woodlands is 2-0 right now as well. They're looking really hot. Again, they had some question marks on the offense line. They're kind of figuring that out. Jack Dalton has done a really good job, but the defense has been the biggest thing for the Woodlands. When you return 9 out of 11 starters from a year ago, you're just able to do a lot defensively, and they've kind of dominated games and been able to win games defensively so far.
Dickinson wins another, they beat Katy. Everybody got all riled up about that. Dickinson wins this week in a 7-point game against
Shootout.
CE Collins or CE King. CE King is one of those teams that could be a difference maker come later in the season. But that was a big win for Dickinson. Who else do we have? Tomball looks good to me. Tomball is just steady, steady. That's gonna be a really good district. How that plays out.
I think Jackson Fulton, the quarterback there, getting him back, having a guy who's been in your system for a long time and had experience last year. Fulton's going to be good. They've got 2 really good running backs, and their defense is always pretty good. So they're doing good.
In 5A, we've got Randall, of course, number 1, Iowa Colony, number 2, LaPorte, number 3, Angleton, 4, Fort Bend Marshall, 5. You are feeling LaPorte. Could they move into the top 2 spots?
Well, in 2 weeks, I think they definitely can. As you know, we'll have Randall and Iowa Colony who will be playing in a district game, which will be, I think, a heavyweight. Last year, in that game, in the district play, it was kind of a lopsided score. In the regional final, it was a tight score. This year, with how both teams are looking right now, it's looking like it'll be a shootout. But I think LaPorte definitely has the ability to move up. When you beat 2 6A programs in Kingwood and Deer Park. I mean, Kingwood went to a regional final last year. This isn't just a cakewalk type of
No.
game. Like, you're playing against tough competition. And for LaPorte to win that game, it shows that they've got a little bit more. And they were a team that made the regional final again last year. So they could sneak up. I think depending on how that game goes in 2 weeks, we could see a new number 1, number 2 team.
How about that? Private school ranked St. Thomas looks really good. They beat Lake Creek, a 5A public school team who's traditionally made the playoffs. Then you got TWCA, the Warriors, good quarterback, good defense. They're looking very strong early. They play Lutheran South, who's our number 3 team, coached by Corby Meekins, who used to be at Westfield and then at U of H and then UT. He's building a really solid program, got a lot of move-ins. So that's probably the signature private school game this week is TWCA versus LSA. Kind of cool to see some of these college kids doing well. Bridgeland quarterback Connor Wegman had a solid game for U of H.
Yeah, had a rushing touchdown, had a big 74-yard passing touchdown. So he had a pretty solid outing. You also saw some other guys from the area do pretty well too.
Helms, who played at Tomball, now starts at Army at quarterback, had a big game, and they beat Kansas State. The Woodlands kicker a couple weeks ago kicks a 50-yard bomb for Arkansas.
Scott Starzik.
That's another big name. But, it's kind of cool to see these guys continue their pathway in the college ranks. We'll be following that, as we go along. You're going to a big game in Chicago, Notre Dame hosting Texas A&M. While we're here, what is your breakdown of that game?
Yeah, I'm excited to go watch that. I think the biggest thing for A&M is going to be able to stop the run game and Jeremiah Love. That was kind of what hurt A&M last year was Jeremiah Love having some big plays with his legs. And so, the past 2 weeks, A&M has seen some big plays where they aren't filling gaps and stuff. I think that'll be fixed up hopefully by this weekend. But offensively, you see how explosive A&M is right now with Casey Concepcion, Mario Craver, 2 transfer receivers that came in. Then you got Marcel Reed, who really has looked like he's developed as a quarterback this year. He's made some nice plays with his legs, but also his arm has been the biggest thing. I believe he threw for 289 last week, 4 touchdowns this week. He threw for a touchdown or 2 this week as well. So I think that's the most exciting thing about A&M. It'll be a good game, and I hopefully we'll be coming home with the Aggies with a win.
That is a great experience going up to Notre Dame to see the game. I've done that before. LSU, this is the Houston Bowl. LSU's Harold Perkins will be spying Willis's DJ Lagway at Florida this weekend. So that's kind of cool to see those two guys from Houston doing big things as well.
Two former top players in the state, too, for their respective years, too.
Yeah. Amazing talent that have always come through here. Okay. Anything else we're leaving out? We do have that big marquee game on Thursday night. That's the biggest game. Got to be the biggest game of the week this week.
I think you also have to look at that Westlake Atascocita game. I think that game last year, I believe, came down to the wire in the fourth quarter. Atascocita ended up winning when they went to Westlake. Now Westlake's coming back. Obviously, they're going to have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They've already taken a loss this year to Prosper. They're going to want to, get back to where they were last year. That's a team that made the state championship last year. So they've got Reese Wise, the Ole Miss quarterback, coming back. Or Ole Miss commit coming back. They've got a few other pieces. Maddox Flint, who's commit to TCU on the defensive line. So Westlake will be pretty solid. Can they stop Cardae Mack? That'll be the question mark. No one's been able to do it so far this year. So we'll see. But I think that's another game to watch.
The other game is a dirty 5A game. LaPorte going to Port Nature's Groves. That's going to be sick.
Yeah.
Port Nature's Groves is undefeated. They're undefeated.
Actually, I think P&G is going to LaPorte.
We'll find out. We'll get down to the bottom of that. But P&G, who do they? Oh, they beat Klein Oak, 6A Klein Oak, in week 1. But I tell you what, that's going to be a wild game. It's a non-district game, but that's a game that maybe, I don't know how it all line up. They could play each other in the postseason as well. Possibly. They're both small schools. I'm not sure. But anyways, okay, so that's a wrap. We're going to catch you next week. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe on YouTube. Hey, these videos and highlights, if you want us to come to a game, DM us, what have you, because last week's game did really well. And he was at the Woodlands Deer Park game. That's coming up here shortly as it relates to highlights. So follow the highlights on our YouTube. And then, of course, all the great content on our Instagram, TikTok, and X. Matt Jackson, see you next week, and we'll see you this weekend at the game.